everyone. Welcome to a higher dimension. I'm Gloria from Gloria Danve's Hypnosis, and I'm your host for this podcast. You know, one of the things that I work with a lot in my hypnosis practice is change. In fact, 90% of my practice is simply change. And there's a mindset that I've experienced quite a bit in these sessions. A person can know that they're safe, they know they're worthy, and they know they've changed. And they still say, but I don't feel it. And because they don't feel it, they assume it's not true. They assume the healing has not taken hold because they're not where they thought they would be. That something is still missing. We place a great deal of importance on feeling peaceful, feeling confident, and we want to feel connected, and we want to feel spiritual. We want to feel that the universe is with us, that our soul is guiding us, and that we are finally aligned with the life that we were meant to live. And there's nothing wrong with wanting those feelings. But feeling is not the only way that we can know that something is true. A lot of times, we know before we feel. Sometimes the soul knows before the personality is able to trust it, and the conscious mind understands before the body has released the trauma. And then, sometimes we're already standing in the place we wanted to reach. But because it doesn't feel the way that we imagined it would, the way the books and the teachers said it would, we fail to recognize it. And so that's what I want to talk about today. The space between knowing and feeling, and the possibility that knowing itself may be a form of spiritual guidance. A lot of my clients come to me saying that they want to feel confident. So I ask them what confidence would look like in their lives. And they can say, I would speak up, and I would also stop apologizing for myself. I would set boundaries and make decisions without asking everyone else what they thought. I would no longer be afraid of disappointing people. And here's the cool thing. Over time, through our work and through their desire to change, they begin to do those things. They say no. They stop over-explaining. And they make the decision that is right for them without conflicting input. They have the conversation with themselves and stop abandoning themselves to keep someone else comfortable. Now, from where I'm sitting, that's incredible progress. And then I'll hear, but I still don't feel the confidence. And what they mean is that they expected confidence to feel powerful. They thought it would arrive as a certainty. They thought that fear would completely disappear and they would suddenly become bold, calm, and sure of themselves. But confidence doesn't always feel like certainty. A lot of times, especially at the beginning, confidence feels like doing the thing while your heart is still pounding, saying what needs to be said even though your voice shakes. It can feel like setting a boundary and then feeling bad about it afterward. So this is what you need to know. Sometimes confidence is not a feeling that you hold in the body. It really is a spiritual decision. It's the moment when you choose to honor yourself, even though the old part of you is still afraid and still warning you not to rock the boat, still telling you that there is danger in pursuing autonomy and freedom. And this is important because we often think that spiritual growth should feel elevated. We want and expect light, peace, clarity, and that beautiful sense of connection. And sometimes it does feel that way. But most spiritual growth is quieter. It could be no longer chasing someone who has withdrawn from you, or recognizing that another person's opinion is not the voice of God. It may feel like the discomfort of choosing rest without having to earn it first. Saying to yourself, this doesn't feel comfortable, but I do know that it's right for me. That kind of knowing doesn't really feel mystical, but it is. It's your soul speaking in a voice that's so steady and ordinary that we almost miss it. The personality or the ego wants the big bang, boom, the emotion, and it wants a sign. The ego wants to feel completely certain before it moves. But your soul is quieter than that. And it can simply know. It's not going to explain itself or create that rush of energy that you're looking for. And it might not give us the emotional experience that we were hoping for. It might say, quietly, this is the way forward. That's all. No angels singing or trumpets blasting. It's up to us to decide whether we trust it. That's part of our journey. And I don't know anyone who has ever been able to skip this part. A lot of people confuse spiritual alignment with spiritual excitement. They think that if they are truly aligned, they should feel joyful and expanded, inspired, or completely in a Buddha-like peace, or something, anything other than the ordinary. Because sometimes alignment feels like no longer arguing with what you already know. You know the relationship is over and the situation is not right for you. And you know you need to rest. You know you need to start somewhere, anywhere, even if you feel shaky about it, or before you feel ready. You know you deserve better, but you don't really feel strong. You don't feel spiritually supported. And that's probably the greatest leap of faith. Feeling alone and doing it anyway. But consider this. Maybe knowing is the support. Maybe the guidance has already arrived, but because it didn't come with a dramatic feeling, you bypassed it and you keep waiting for something more. We often imagine divine guidance as something unmistakable. We look for those signs and those meaningful dreams because we want a message. We want a sudden opening of light. But most of the time, divine guidance is simply the truth that will not leave you alone. You know, fear can speak loudly. Oh, yes, and guilt, that gets really loud. Your old conditioning and programming may be screaming at you to stay small, to stay safe. But beneath all of that, there is a simple knowing. And the knowing is this. This is not who you are anymore, and you don't belong there. And truthfully, you never did. And the big one, this is what I need to do, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. The problem is that the body might not be on board yet. Your conscious mind can know the danger is not real, but your body is still reacting as though it is about to get attacked. You can know that you are loved, but still feel afraid of being abandoned. That you are capable, but you can still feel uncertain. You can know that you made the right decision, but you will still grieve what it cost you. You know that you are spiritually connected, but you don't feel any particular spiritual emotion. As a complex human being having a spiritual experience, we really are large enough to contain more than one truth. Your body has its own timing, so it remembers criticism, instability, It remembers what happened when you spoke up before and what happened when you trusted. So your soul can know we're safe now. But the body might say, I need more proof than your say-so, thank you very much. And that doesn't mean the soul is wrong. It means the body may need new experiences before it can accept the new reality. So here we find that thought has to create the movement before it can offer proof. That means every boundary becomes evidence, as well as every act of self-respect. And every time you speak and survive, this is evidence. And every time you choose yourself and the world doesn't collapse, that too is evidence. And this is how spiritual truth slowly becomes embodied. We can't force the body to believe. Certainly for not shaming ourselves for still feeling afraid. But by living the truth often enough, every part of us begins to recognize it. And I think this is where spirituality can become really unkind if we aren't careful. People are told to feel abundant, feel grateful, feel healed, feel that high vibration, and feel as though the thing they want has already happened. And there is a lot of value in opening ourselves to that possibility. But we can also turn feeling into another spiritual test that we believe we're failing. A person may think, I know I'm worthy, but I don't feel worthy, so I haven't healed. I know I'm supported, but I don't feel supported. So maybe I'm still disconnected from the divine. I know my life has changed, but I don't feel different. So maybe nothing's really happened. But here's the thing, though. Spiritual truth does not become false because we can't emotionally access it today. The truth that you are guided and still feel confused, that you are safe and still feel afraid, those two truths can absolutely coexist very well together. You know that you're held by something larger and still have a very human and very challenging day. Spiritual knowing does not remove our humanity. It lives beside it. And this may be one of the deeper lessons about being a spiritual person in a human body. Because we don't rise above every feeling. But we learn that feelings are real without allowing every feeling to become the whole truth. We can say to ourselves, I believe what I'm feeling. But I don't believe every conclusion this feeling is creating. There's a difference between listening to a feeling and giving it spiritual authority. And yes, that feeling probably needs attention. It may need compassion, rest, comfort, and understanding. But it doesn't always get to decide what's true. Your fear can say, you can't do this. But your knowing will say, you've done difficult things before and survived. Your loneliness can say, no one cares. And then your knowing is going to say, you know that's not true. Just because you can't feel it doesn't mean it's not right here in front of you. Feelings of unworthiness can say, take whatever someone decides to give you. And your knowing can say, I'm not willing to live that way anymore. I'm setting my own worth and my own value. And that's not positive thinking. That is not denying emotion. It is the practice of trusting a deeper truth to remain present while the bad feeling moves through. Because that feeling will move through. But the knowledge will always remain. And you know, sometimes for a while, that knowledge, that knowing, that has to carry us. We may not feel strong, but we know we can take the next step. We know we'll no longer accept poor treatment. We may not feel peaceful, but we know we're no longer living inside the old chaos. And at certain moments, we may not feel spiritually connected, but we know the divine has not vanished simply because we're having trouble sensing it. That's trust in a very grounded form. Not believing something impossible or pretending to feel what we don't feel. We just simply refuse to assume that the absence of a feeling means the absence of truth. Because we can already be living inside the answer to a prayer, but we don't recognize it because it feels ordinary. We ask for peace, and now life is quiet. Do we recognize that quiet as the peace that we asked for? We prayed for freedom, and now no one is controlling us. And it feels so natural that we may not recognize it as the miracle that it is. We wanted healthier relationships, and now there's no drama. Are we up to the challenge of that? And we wanted to become stronger, and now we're making choices that once we couldn't make. But because there's no great big rush of light, we wonder whether anything happened. Are we waiting for an inner bell to ring? And a voice that says, "You're healed now. You're confident now. You have arrived." And that would be nice to mark our progress, if nothing else. But life rarely gives us that kind of ceremony. Instead, we can look back and realize, wow, I handled that situation differently. Because this time, I didn't abandon myself. I said what I meant. I trusted my own judgment because I don't need that person to agree with me. And there's your evidence. And evidence is more reliable than emotion. What you're feeling can change in an hour, but a pattern that has changed is something else. A boundary that remains in place is something else. A truth that you can return to, even on a difficult day, is something else. So maybe the question isn't always, do I feel different? Maybe the questions are, do I see what I'm doing differently? What am I no longer willing to accept? What no longer controls my whole day? What is the truth that keeps returning even though I resist it? And where in my life am I already living in greater alignment? And those questions are going to tell you that you're not waiting for the spiritual work to begin. You're already inside it. You're already living in a different way. Your emotions may simply be learning the shape of it. There may be things that you know today that you can't fully feel yet. You know that you're loved, that you're capable. You certainly know when a chapter's ended, and you also know that you deserved better. So, when you know that your soul is asking something new of you, don't dismiss that knowing because it arrived quietly. It's not false because it didn't come with a rush of energy. Your soul doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just knows. So this is the invitation. Stop asking every truth to become a feeling before we are willing to trust it. And allow just knowing to be that sacred thing that we've been pursuing. And the action to become the prayer. Allow the life that you and I, are living to become the evidence. You don't have to feel transformed every moment in order to be transformed, or feel confident in order to act with confidence. You certainly don't have to feel worthy in order to treat yourself as worthy, or feel perfectly connected in order to be connected. Most of all, you don't have to feel that you've arrived. just look around and realize that you're no longer where you began. And the feeling will come. It might come slowly, but one day, that truth will feel just as natural as breathing. But until then, you can honor what you know. You can trust that quiet truth and let your mind and your belief continue to inform the body that it can move through discomfort and that there will be a better place for you to land, even if the angels aren't singing. Thank you for joining me today on A Higher Dimension. If this podcast has resonated with you, pass it along to someone that you think might need the message, because we all have to take care of each other, don't we? If you're curious about what I do and you'd like more information, you can reach me at gloriadanvershypnosis.com. You can book a free consultation. I would love to talk with you about all the ways that we can create the life that you want to live. I'll be back in a few weeks. Until then, keep moving toward your truth. Someday you're going to feel it, and some days you're not. But nothing should stop you from creating movement, even if it's only an inch at a time. Bye.